Roblox has been absolutely dominated by a few massive games this year, but cracks are starting to show, and one of the biggest might finally be collapsing. I'm talking about growagarden, a game that once stood at the very top of Roblox, pulling nearly 2 million daily players back in July. Back then, it was unstoppable. Everyone was playing it, TikTok clips were everywhere, and it felt like growagarden was going to dominate the platform forever. But now, it's a completely different story. The game has dropped below 1 million daily players, less than half of its peak, and if you've been paying attention, the reasons are pretty clear. At first, growagarden was the perfect formula. The constant updates kept the game alive and exciting. Every week there was something fresh, new pets, pet mutations, cooking systems, events that gave players reasons to come back. The cooking update especially stands out. It completely changed how crops were used, added new progression layers, and made the grind feel worth it again. For a while, the devs were nailing it. Players were hooked because every time you logged in, there was something to do. But then things started slipping. Updates went from game-changing to recycled. Take the fairy event, for example. On the surface, it was new content, but if you'd been around since June, you instantly realized it was basically just a reskin of the Busy Bee event with a few minor tweaks. That's the issue. Veteran players notice, and once updates start feeling like reskins instead of brand new mechanics, the hype dies fast. And without hype, player counts take a hit. Now, recycled updates might slow a game down, but the real killer for growagarden is something far bigger: the economy. At this point, the game's economy isn't just inflated, it's completely broken.
Numbers that used to mean something are now meaningless. Pets that were once valuable are being traded for absurd amounts. Bug eggs that cost 50 million are now spitting out pets worth trillions. And rare pets like the kitsune are valued so high they don't even feel real anymore. And if that wasn't bad enough, bugs pushed everything over the edge. Pets like the moon cat ended up with glitch stats that caused crops to grow ridiculously oversized, pumping insane amounts of currency into the system. Once that kind of money floods into a game's economy, it's basically impossible to undo the damage. This is where new players get completely crushed. Imagine you just started growagarden with 10,000 coins in your pocket, trying to build up your first little farm. But then you look around your server and see players with trillions. At that point, you've only got two options. You either grind endlessly, knowing you'll never catch up, or someone rich donates you trillions instantly, skipping all the progression and leaving you with nothing to actually work for. Either way, the new player experience falls apart. And if new players don't stick around, the game's future is already on a timer. To put it in perspective, think about Adopt Me or Pet Simulator X. Both games have had insane pet economies, but they also have ways to balance progression for new players. New pets come out regularly, trading resets slightly, and the devs actively manage inflation. growagarden, on the other hand, doesn't have that kind of control right now. Once currency got out of hand, it snowballed, and everything became extreme. The gap between new and old players is so huge that most people quitting isn't surprising. Now, to be fair, the dev team has noticed this problem, and they've tried fixing it. They added inflation systems, raised shop prices, experimented with different balancing ideas, but here's the thing. Once an economy gets this cooked, every solution comes with massive risks. A full currency wipe could technically save the game, but millions of players would rage quit instantly. On the flip side, raising prices only hurts new players even more, which makes the entry point even harsher. It's a lose-lose situation. And while all this is happening, players are leaving for other games. Roblox is full of new hits right now, and competition is fiercer than ever. Games with fresh ideas are pulling in hype, while growagarden is struggling with old mechanics and a broken economy. And even for the veterans who stuck around, things feel stale. Grinding the same crops, unlocking pets that are basically useless unless you have trillions, events that feel repetitive. Over time, it all adds up. Let's talk about the events for a second. Early on, events were exciting and innovative. The cooking event added a completely new layer to the game, changing how you approached crops. Pet mutations kept players coming back, and rare events made everyone log in to see what was new. But now, it feels like the events are just reskinned Busy Bee or same mechanics with a new skin. That's fine for casual players who just check in every few months, but for the hardcore, veteran community that carried the game's popularity, it kills hype. And without hype, daily logins drop. And with fewer players, everything feels emptier. The weird thing is, even with all these issues, growagarden isn't dead yet. It's still pulling in close to 1 million daily players, numbers that most games would kill for. But the trend is concerning. Each week, player counts dip a little more.
Every recycled update and every bug that inflates the economy makes it harder for new players to catch up. And every player that quits contributes to a slow downward spiral. So, can growagarden recover? Honestly, yes, but it would take bold action. The devs could completely overhaul the economy, implement smarter trading systems, add genuinely new content, and create ways for new players to feel like they can compete. Community-driven content could also help. Giving players the ability to influence updates or design events could bring back excitement. But if they don't innovate, if they keep recycling old events and letting bugs spiral, we could be watching the slow collapse of one of Roblox's biggest giants. And here's the thing. This isn't just numbers and economy. It's about player experience. People come to growagarden for fun, progression, and achievement. When the grind feels hopeless or unfair, the core reason for playing disappears. And once that happens, there's almost no bringing them back. So here's the big question. What do you think? Can growagarden bounce back? Or is the economy and lack of fresh content too far gone? Would you grind your way back if the devs reset the economy? Or would you quit for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I really want to hear what you guys think. At the end of the day, Roblox is built on its community, and whether growagarden survives or collapses might just depend on how we as players respond. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe because it's free and you can always change your mind later. Join my Discord to keep the conversation going, and I'll see you in the next one.